Hey, what's going on, guys? Today, we got a fun video for you. Today, we are making a tier list of all the possible Shundos that I could get by using the silver bottle cap. So if you didn't know, the silver bottle cap is an item they're introducing in the Go Wild area event. And what this will do is it will increase 1 out of the 3 stats of your Pokemon. So if you have a, let's say, a 0, 15, 15, you can bring the 0 all the way up to a 15, making it a 100%. So what most people do, including myself, is they will use it on a shiny Pokemon to make a Shundo. So without further ado, let's look at the Pokemon in my collection that we can turn into a Shundo. Alright, starting off the tier list, we have Venusaur. And now with Venusaur, we actually have 2 different Venusaurs that we could turn into a Shundo. We have one that is a shiny lucky 98%, and then we have another one that is a 13, 15, 15 shiny Dynamax Venusaur. So the Dynamax Venusaur is definitely useful, and they do have a Mega Evolution. So Bulbasaur is one of my favorite starters. He's definitely my favorite starter of the first generation. So with that, we're going to give Venusaur an A. Alright, so up next, we actually have an Eevee. So this Eevee was lucky traded to me. It is a 15, 13, 15. And I do like Eevee. And I like how it has multiple evolutions. So I could pick any one of the evolutions to turn into a Shundo. However, I'm just not that super into Eevee like a lot of other people are. So it's a decent one overall, but I'm going to have to give it a C. Next on the list is Dragonite. So fun fact about Dragonite, he is actually my second favorite Pokemon of all time. And I've actually tried to get a Shundo of this guy for years now. I believe I've done 6 different lucky trades in hopes of getting a Shundo Dragonite, but I have not been able to. But while doing so, I've gotten 2 different Dragonites that I could turn into a Shundo with the silver bottle cap. So another thing is too, it has a future Mega Evolution coming to Pokemon Go. So with all of that considered, it's my second favorite Pokemon of all time. We are going to give Dragonite an S. Alright, so next on the list is Hisuian Typhlosion. So this might be a little bit controversial, but I'm actually not that big of a fan of Typhlosion. I don't like the original one, and I don't really care for the Hisuian form either. And the shiny is okay at best. So we're going to leave this one with a C. So up next, we have Hoot Hoot. Hoot Hoot, it's okay. It is definitely a Pokemon. It has a good shiny. The downside is it's just not raid relevant whatsoever. It's just kind of a mid Pokemon, and I don't think a lot of people are considering turning a Hoot Hoot into a Shundo. So we're going to give this one our first D. So up next, we actually have Ampharos. So I have a shiny 98% Ampharos, so it's only 1 IV away from being a Shundo. It has one of the best shinies in the whole game, and it has a very useful Mega Evolution. So obviously on Ampharos' name, I can't give it anything less than an A. Alright, so now we got Steelix. So very similar to Ampharos. Steelix is a really useful Pokemon because it can Mega Evolve. It also has a pretty good shiny. I have a 15, 13, 15 Steelix, and it definitely could be a contender to be a Shundo. You're going to notice a lot of the Pokemon that can Mega Evolve are ranked in the A tier, and this is no exception. Alright, so now we actually have Granbull. Now, the funny thing about Granbull is that I have vouched for this my entire life. I think Granbull is a horrible Pokemon, and I think it has maybe the worst shiny in the whole entire franchise. So I have a shiny 98 one that I received from a trade, and I named him Fate because I always joked around that I would eventually get a Shundo of Granbull because I hate it so much. So I will not be turning this into a Shundo. Fate might happen, but it's not going to happen with a silver bottle cap. So we are going to give Granbull a solid D. Alright, so next on the list is Corsola. So I actually really like the shiny of Corsola. In terms of shininess, it might be one of the best. On the downside, though, Corsola is not useful for anything whatsoever. It is kind of a rare regional that I don't get here too often, but just because of its uselessness, I can't give it anything over a D. Alright, so now we got Tyranitar. And so Tyranitar, obviously, it's Tyranitar. you gotta put some respect on Tyranitar's name. It is such an awesome Pokemon, and it has such a useful Mega. I actually have a shiny 98% that I got, I believe, in a trade, and it's just would be one of the most useful Pokemon you could turn into a Shundo. I, however, am going to give it a solid A. Alright, so next on the list is Mudkip. So, Mudkip's iconic, and if I even evolved it into a Swampert, it would be even better, right? You can Mega Evolve it, and it has one of the best shinies out of any starter, really. So, just because of its usefulness, and it has a really nice shiny, we're going to give it an A. Alright, now this guy, this is one of the big boys. This is Charizard, but it's not just any Charizard. This is a shiny 98 Gigantamax Charizard. So, that speaks for itself. I don't have to do a lot of explaining about it. A Shundo Gigantamax Charizard would be such a crazy flex. And I'm not even a Charizard fan to begin with. But this is obviously an S. You can't go anything lower. Next on the list is Ralts. So, the Ralts that I have, it's actually a PvP Ralts. So, it has PvP IVs. But not the downside is, but it is a downside. It is a female, so it is limited to only evolving into a Gardevoir. So I couldn't get a Shundo Gallade if I wanted to. Not that I would. I think I would evolve into Gardevoir before Gallade. But such a good shiny, such a useful Psychic and Fairy Mega. Shundo Ralts, Shundo Gardevoir, we're going to give that an A. So this Pokemon is actually a very underrated Pokemon, and I think it has a very underrated shiny. But Ninjask, I have a shiny 98 Ninjask that I believe I caught in the wild a few years ago. It is a shiny that a lot of people don't have, and I think it'd be pretty cool to get a Shundo of it. But it's not that useful at the end of the day, so we can only give it a B. So next on the list, Volbeat. This might be one of the last Pokemon I'd ever want a Shundo of. It's so useless, it's ugly, its shiny is ugly, it deserves a D. So the next Pokemon on our list is Sharpedo. So it has a pretty good shiny, and it has a pretty good Mega Evolution. So just like a lot of the rest of the Pokemon that can Mega Evolve, we're going to give this one a solid A. Nothing too crazy, but nothing terrible whatsoever. So next on the list is actually the Pokemon we caught very recently. This is a shiny 98% Altaria that we caught. So a fun fact about Altaria is that it was the first Pokemon I ever Lucky Traded for. So I have a shiny Lucky Altaria that I named King. This isn't the one that I can turn into a Shundo. It's the one we caught last week. So I named this one Prince. This would be a cool Pokemon to turn into a Shundo. It can Mega Evolve, and it is one of my favorites. We're going to give Altaria an A for Altaria. So the next Pokemon on the list is Duskull. So having a Shundo Duskull would be really cool. I am such a big fan of the red. It has one of the best shinies. Unfortunately, the only thing holding it back is Dusknoir's evolution. It has one of the worst shinies in all of Pokemon. You can barely tell that it is shiny. And overall, the further you get on, it just lacks relevancy. I think it kind of peaks at Duskull and maybe Dusclops, but Dusknoir kind of ruins it. We're going to give Shundo Duskull a B. So the next Pokemon we have is Staraptor. So the thing about Staraptor is I already have a Shadow Hundo Staraptor. So I'm not going to be able to get a Staraptor that's better than that. But overall, it's a pretty decent Pokemon. The Shadow, I've used on more than one occasion. It's pretty strong. The one bonus about this Staraptor, though, is that there is a rumor going around that it will be able to Mega Evolve in the future. So if I do get a Shundo Staraptor, that is something I could consider, since I can't Mega Evolve a Shadow. But for now, we're going to give it a B. So next, we have Lopunny. So Lopunny, we have a shiny 98 as well. We got that from a Lucky Trade, and it is a Pokemon that I've used fairly often. It does have a Mega Evolution, and just because of that, we're going to give Mega Lopunny an A. So now we have Garchomp. So very similar to Tyranitar in a lot of ways. Garchomp is just too iconic to put anywhere under A. He's so awesome. His Mega Evolution shiny is really good. Shiny normal Garchomp isn't that great, but there are rumors that there will be a second Mega Garchomp coming to the DLC of Legends EA. So we'll have to wait and see. But for now, Garchomp is going to get a solid A. Next up, we have Weavile. So me personally, I don't have any significant feelings towards Weavile or its shiny. Overall, it is a pretty decent Ice and Dark type raid attacker, but it doesn't mean anything to me. I'm going to give it a C. So actually, this one right here, Nidorino. At first glance, this one doesn't sound too exciting, but the Nidorino that I have is actually a shiny 98 costumed Nidorino. It has the birthday hat on, and it would be an automatic S tier, if not for one thing. So the one downfall with this Nidorino is that it cannot evolve. A Shundo costumed Nidoking would be such a cool Pokemon to have, but simply due to its not being able to evolve, I cannot put it any higher than a B. Magmortar is up next. So a fun fact about this Magmortar is this was my first trade that ever became lucky. So even before my first lucky trade, this was the first one I got. And I almost peaked right at the beginning because I got a shiny 98% Magmortar. So this one means a lot to me. His name is Mr. Pink. It's such a good shiny. I'm going to give this one a B. Togekiss is next up on the list. So I actually have two different shiny 98% Togekisses. One's name is Y and the other one's name is Y again because I was just so upset that I couldn't get a Shundo at the time. And instead I got two shiny 98 Togekisses. Not that I'm complaining though. They're actually a very useful fairy and flying type raid attacker. So maybe one day we might turn one into a Shundo, but for now, it is going to get a B. So next up, we have Regigigas. So this is a legendary, and it has one of my favorite shinies of all time, especially in Gen 4. Unfortunately, though, just because it's Regigigas, it's never been good in anything. It's a normal type, and it doesn't go beyond that. We're going to give Regigigas a B. Another legendary, we have Giratina. So the Giratina that I have is a 15-15-13. The shiny is so good, I don't think anyone can complain about it. And it is a very useful dark type legendary Pokemon that I use often. I don't use it as much as I should, but it is a legendary and it is super useful. So I'm going to give this guy an A. So next up, we actually have an article of clothing. We have a Shundo sock. Just joking. I'm not adding that. That was stupid. I do like the shiny, and I do prefer sock over throw. Maybe because we see throw more often than we do sock over here, since they are both regional. Unfortunately, sock is just not useful for anything, so we will be putting sock in the D tier. Levani is next. Unfortunately, Levani suffers from being a bug and grass type Pokemon, so it is not very good, nor will it ever be very good. I also don't really like the shiny. We are also going to give Levani a D. Up next is the GOAT Scolipede. So Scolipede, I think, is either perfectly rated or underrated. Scolipede is my 5th favorite Pokemon of all time. I do eventually plan on getting a Shundo of this Pokemon. It has such a good shiny, and it has a future Mega Evolution coming to Pokemon Go, which makes it even better. Just because I'm biased, we are going to give Scolipede an outstanding S. Now we got Darumaka. So this Darumaka that I have is actually a shiny Dynamax one. So we could get a shiny Dynamax Darmanitan. So when it's evolved, it is a pretty good and decent fire type attacker. And one of my goals in Pokemon Go is to have a collection of all the Hundo monkey Pokemon. And Darmanitan and Darumaka are considered monkey Pokemon. So this could be something up for consideration. It definitely helps that it can Dynamax, but we are going to put this at a solid B. Next up, we got Archeops. So Archeops is a fun Pokemon overall, but unfortunately, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. And its shiny isn't even that noticeable. We are going to put Archeops at a C. Not else more can be said. So next up, we have Ducklet. I actually really do enjoy shiny Ducklet. I would say it might be one of my top 20 favorite shinies of all time. Unfortunately, it's just not useful for anything. It's a duck. We're going to put it at a D for duck. Up next, we have Nidoking. So Nidoking, also one of my favorite shinies of all time. I love the dark blue. It has such a great shiny. Unfortunately, Nidoking just doesn't compete with other Pokemon. It's missing a Mega form, a G-Max form. It's missing any kind of form that it should have. And because of that, we cannot give it anything higher than a C. So, Ducklet's evolution, Swanna. I have 2 of these. I decided to count them separately. However, Swanna, same category as Ducklet. If anything, Swanna Shiny is just way worse. I would rather have a Shundo Ducklet than a Swanna. We are going to give Swanna a D. Haxorus is next. Haxorus has one of the greatest shinies of all time. I love the black, I love the red, and overall, it's just a really decent Pokemon. Unfortunately, Haxorus does not have a Mega Evolution yet, so I can't put it anything higher than a B. Up next, we have a personal favorite, Cubchoo. So I actually really like the guy. I think he's silly, and I do really enjoy the shiny. But at the end of the day, it's just a Cubchoo. We can't give it anything higher than a C. A Selgor is next. This Pokemon is forgettable. At least for me, I don't think about it very often. The shiny's okay. It's not useful for anything. And overall, it just doesn't mean a whole lot to me. We're going to put a Selgor at D. Stunfisk is up next. And well, in my notes writing this, the only description I gave for Stunfisk's rating is Stunfisk is, well, Stunfisk. So not much more elaboration needs to be put in that. Stunfisk getting a D. Sorry, buddy. Up next, Hydreigon. Hydreigon is such a cool shiny. One of my favorite shinies of all time. Definitely top 10. I use mine very often as a dark attacker. And I have a shiny lucky 15, 15, 13. So it would be criminal to put this anything under A. Kyurem is up next. So Kyurem would actually be such a good Shundo to have. I have a shiny lucky 15, 13, 15. I can fuse it with Reshiram and Zekrom for Kyurem White or Black, and it's one of the most useful Pokemon in the game, especially with their adventure effect. I'm going to give this one an S. Up next, we have a Greninja. So Greninja actually has such a good shiny, nobody could say otherwise, and it now has a Mega Evolution coming in the future. I'm going to give this one an A. Next on the list, we have Vikavolt. This is another Pokemon that just doesn't mean anything to me personally. I don't really like it, and I think the shiny is ugly. We're going to give Vikavolt a D. Next on the list, we got Oranguru. This is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, believe it or not. It's not like top 5, and it might not even be top 10, but I like it. It means a lot to me. Unfortunately, it's just not that great for anything. We're going to give Oranguru a C. Alolan Ninetales is next. I actually have a shiny lucky 98%. I got this from a lucky trade a while ago. It has a really nice shiny. It's unfortunately just not great for anything, but we're going to give this one a B. We have Xurkitree next. So Xurkitree is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, and it is my favorite Ultra Beast of all time. I have a shiny 98%. I got a few Go Fests back. It has such a good shiny. I'm going to give this one an S because it's so good. Duskmane Necrozma up next. I could unfuse it and get Dawnwings Necrozma if I wanted to. So both are really good options and extremely useful in Pokemon Go with their adventure effects. Duskmane Necrozma and Dawnwings Necrozma have such good shinies. I'm going to give this one an S. Next on the list is Tandemaus. It's not that much of a noticeable shiny. I still like it, but it's not that noticeable. If it was the 3 family form instead of the 4 family form, it would have gone much higher on the list. I'm going to give it a D. Bellsprout up next. This is a shiny that I do like a lot. I have a really good shiny Shadow Victory Bell, so this wouldn't be much better, but if I did evolve this Bellsprout into a Victory Bell, it would be a pretty good Shundo. It does have a Mega Evolution coming in the future of Pokemon Go. It has a beautiful Mega, so I'm going to give this one an A. Dodrio up next. This is a Pokemon that does not mean a whole lot to me, and what makes it worse is it doesn't even have a good shiny. Not much else to say. We are going to give Dodrio a D. Ghastly up next. This is a Pokemon that does have a Mega Evolution if you evolve it all the way into Gengar. Unfortunately, the shiny for Gengar really isn't that good, but I could consider this because I have a really great collection of Gengars. I have a shiny costume Halloween one that's a 100%, and I even have two 100% Dynamax Gengars. So would it be cool to have the Shundo Gengar? Absolutely. We were going to give this one an A. Last Pokemon on the tier list, Executor. This is a shiny 98 that I caught in the wild during the season of Alola. Unfortunately, Executor, not that useful for anything. I'm not a particularly big fan of the shiny either. So we are going to rank this Executor in D. So that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I bet you're all wondering, what Pokemon will I be picking for the Shundo? And well, I've already made up my mind a long time ago. The Pokemon that I will be using my silver bottle cap on will be Dragonite. So again, Dragonite is my second favorite Pokemon. I already have the Shundo Farfetch, so we are going to go in order of my top favorite Pokemon of all time. And Dragonite is just so fitting, and I cannot wait. So that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and leave in the comments, what Pokemon do you plan on using the silver bottle cap for? I would really like to know. But anywho, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more.